All right, so welcome to another deep dive with us. Today we're going to be looking at something a little different. Minecraft 1.2, 1.4 pre-release 1.
Oh,
Now, before you go clicking away thinking pre-release like boring,
right.
hear me out, okay? It may not be about flashy new features this time around, but there's a ton of fine-tuning, kind of under-the-hood stuff that even veteran players, I think, might find pretty interesting.
Yeah, if it's like spring cleaning
Mm-hmm.
for code.
Yeah.
Sure, it's not as exciting as like building a giant castle, but getting rid of all those pesky bugs and like optimizing things,
Yeah.
that really makes for a smoother experience overall.
Exactly. And these pre-releases can drop anytime, right? They don't stick to the Wednesday schedule, so you really got to stay on your toes with these.
Yeah.
But I will give you a fair warning, the notes can be a bit tech heavy. So luckily we have our expert here to help us break it all down. One thing that jumped out at me right away was the resource pack version. It's jumping up to 46. That's got to mean some pretty big changes, right?
It does. It does. So resource packs are how we personalize our Minecraft worlds, right?
Right.
Like textures, sounds, models, all that stuff. It's all in there. So this version bump means Mojang tweaked some like core stuff behind the scenes. So modders, resource pack creators, they're going to have to pay close attention to this one. Oh, so it's like they're changing the language that those packs are written in?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, so that could really shake things up for people who, really love customizing their game. What kind of like ripple effects could we see for the average player?
Yeah, so imagine your favorite resource pack suddenly makes blocks look all wonky or sounds playing wrong.
Mhm.
That's what all the modders are kind of racing to fix right now. So for players, it's a good reminder to, after 1.2, 1.4 goes live, check if your packs are updated. Otherwise, your world might look a bit off.
Oh, that's a good point. Good point. I'll definitely be checking mine. Another thing that caught my eye was this change to spawn eggs. So the ones for entities that can run operator-only commands, those now have a warning on them. Seems like Mojang's taking server security pretty seriously. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So think about it. Operator commands, those let you teleport players, change game modes, even control the weather. Like in the wrong hands, that is a recipe for chaos on a server.
Yeah, I can see how that'd be a problem. So adding this warning, it's like reminding server admins, like, hey, be careful who you give these powerful tools to.
Exactly. It's like handing somebody the keys to the kingdom, but with a big sticky note
Yeah.
that says, use responsibly.
Haha, I love that. Okay, let's get a little geeky here. There's this new hand animation swap field that got added to item models. That sounds complicated. What's the deal with that?
So this is all about making like item interactions like smoother,
Mhm.
and more visually interesting. So imagine swapping from like a sword to a potion. And instead of it just like popping into your hand, the potion bubbles a little bit, or the sword spins slightly as you equip it. That's the kind of control this new field gives creators over these animations.
Oh, that's cool. It's those little details that,
Yeah.
that can really immerse you in the world, It's like you feel like you're really holding those objects, not just clicking buttons.
Precisely. It's all about bringing the world to life.
Right.
One subtle animation at a time.
Okay, next up, we have an update to the Unifont. Now, at version 16.0.01, fonts, they might not sound super exciting, but they're actually really important for accessibility and language support, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
So this update probably means better character rendering, support for even more languages,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe even some improvements for players that have like visual impairments. It's really all about making Minecraft enjoyable for everyone.
Now, this next one is kind of a head-scratcher for me. The Minecraft.head model got some tweaks, including this new animation float to control head movements, and they specifically mention piglin ears and the Ender Dragon's jaw.
Oh, interesting. So think of these model properties as like instructions for the game, telling how to move, how to animate different parts of a creature, right?
Yeah.
So this new float basically lets creators make those movements way more expressive.
So we might see like piglins twitching their ears in response to sounds.
Yeah.
Or the Ender Dragon's jaw snapping with more force.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Adds a whole new level of realism
Now
and depth to these creatures.
it's like giving them a voice, even without words, just through their movements, their expressions.
All right, get ready for another mouthful of a term. The Minecraft.holderType property is now called Minecraft.contextEntityType. Why the name change? Does it actually make things clearer?
So context entities
Mm-hmm.
are things in the game that react based on their environment
Mm-hmm.
or the player interacting with them.
Mhm.
Like, okay, your compass, it points north, right?
Right.
And your clock tells you the in-game time.
Yeah.
So they're not just static objects, they're actually providing information. and they change based on context. So I guess a new name does make more sense that way.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Okay.
Plus, it kind of lays the groundwork for future features
Hmm.
that might use these like context-sensitive objects in even more creative ways. So it's like future-proofing the code, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I gotcha. All right, last one for now, and this one really got me stumped. They added a Minecraft.empty item model type. Now, why would you define an item that has no visual representation? That's like describing the taste of air.
Haha, it does seem kind of strange, right?
Yeah.
But think about it this way, like in custom maps or game modes, you might need to track items or information that doesn't necessarily need like a visual form. So think like quest items, hidden triggers, special abilities. All those things can be represented by this empty type.
Ah, so it's like a ghost item working behind the scenes
Yeah.
without cluttering up, the visual space.
Exactly.
That's pretty clever. Gives map makers a lot more freedom to create some unique gameplay experiences.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes the most powerful elements are the ones you can't even see.
That's a great point. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground already, but we've only scratched the surface of this pre-release. There are tons of bug fixes, other tweaks we haven't even touched on yet, but we'll dive into all of those in part 2 of our deep dive. Stay tuned.
Looking forward to it. So welcome back to the show. It's amazing how much thought goes into even like a minor pre-release like this one. I think we were just starting to unpack the possibilities of the Minecraft.empty item type. And I think it has huge implications for, adventure maps,
Yeah.
custom game modes, that sort of thing.
You're telling me it's like having the secret ingredient, You can add layers of complexity without messing with the visuals at all. I'm already like imagining all sorts of crazy puzzle mechanics, hidden triggers that map makers could create with this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it opens up new storytelling possibilities too, right? Like imagine you find an empty item that represents like a clue or a memory, and it only becomes visible or usable under certain conditions. It's like a
Yeah.
whole new level of environmental storytelling.
Okay, mind blown. Now, before we get too carried away, let's talk about some of the bugs that got squashed in this pre-release. One that made me chuckle was MC278193. You know the one about the baby piglins being indecisive with their loot?
Ah, yes. The classic case of a baby piglin with its priorities out of whack. It seemed they couldn't decide whether to go for crossbows or golden items, which made bartering a bit of a gamble.
We can just picture it. You're offering the shiny gold ingot and the little guy is just completely ignoring it, fixated on some rusty old crossbow. I bet that was frustrating for players.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It kind of breaks the immersion when these supposedly gold-obsessed creatures are distracted by something as mundane as a crossbow. But thankfully, with this bug fix, baby piglins should now consistently prioritize gold, as they should.
Yeah, good news for all the piglin economists out there. Now, there was another bug that caught my attention. MC278302. This one deals with bundles ignoring selected items. That sounds like a recipe for inventory chaos.
Oh. It was. Imagine you're packing a bundle for, a long journey, only to find out that you can't access the specific items you need. It's like reaching to your bag for a map and you pull out a handful of cobblestone.
Ugh, that would drive me nuts, especially if you're in, like, the middle of a tricky situation and you need to get to a specific item quick. Good thing that's fixed now.
Absolutely. Bundles should be reliable tools, not random item generators. This fix makes sure you can always grab exactly what you need when you need it.
Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Or rather, the creaking in the cave. So this pre-release tackles a whole bunch of bugs related to, those adorable little creatures. The creakings. They seem to have been causing quite a stir with their unpredictable behavior.
Indeed. They were practically glitching through dimensions. So we had MC278311, where respawn creakings would disappear when the world reloaded. MC278331, where they would get name tagged again. And MC278387, which saw them respawning after a trip to the nether.
So not only were they indecisive about where they wanted to exist, but also like WHO they wanted to be. It's like those creakings were going through an existential crisis.
I can only imagine the look on a player's face when a creaking suddenly materializes out of thin air, having just returned from a jaunt to the nether. It certainly adds a layer of unpredictability to the game. I'm sure some players were craving a little more stability, though, which is what these fixes deliver.
Yeah, for sure. And then there's MC278300, where creakings hit by lightning would visually catch on fire. Were they supposed to be flammable?
Not at all. It seems like that fire visual effect was sticking around even after the lightning strike, which could have led to some confusing situations, or even accidental forest fires.
Oh, wow. That's a bit scary. I'd hate to think I accidentally burned down an entire forest because a glitching creaking got struck by lightning. Glad they sorted that out.
Indeed, indeed. It's all about ensuring that these charming creatures enhance the gameplay experience, not turn your world into a chaotic inferno.
Speaking of chaos, we haven't even touched on the other bug fixes yet. There's a whole laundry list of them covering everything from phantom sounds to glitching textures. It really makes you appreciate how much work goes into keeping a game as massive and complex as Minecraft running smoothly.
Absolutely. It's like tending a vast and intricate garden.
Yeah.
Every detail matters.
Yeah.
And even the smallest pest or weed can throw the whole ecosystem out of balance.
That's a great analogy. And, it's not just the developers who are tending this garden. The community plays a huge role, too,
Yeah.
by reporting bugs and providing feedback.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful cycle of collaboration and improvement. The developers rely on the players' keen eyes and insights to identify issues that might otherwise go unnoticed.
Yeah. I think this pre-release is a perfect example of how even seemingly minor changes in bug fixes can have a significant impact on the overall gameplay experience.
Absolutely. It's all about refining the details, polishing those rough edges, ensuring that everything works as intended. It's like taking a beautiful painting and meticulously retouching it, bringing out its full brilliance.
I love that. It's a reminder that even in a game as well established as Minecraft, there's always room for improvement. There's always something new to discover. There's always something to learn.
And that's what keeps the game fresh and exciting even after all these years. But hold on tight, because we're not done yet. There's still more to uncover in this pre-release. And we'll be diving into those hidden gems in part 3 of our deep dive. Stay tuned. Welcome back, fellow miners and crafters. We're in the final stretch of our deep dive into Minecraft 1.2, 1.4 pre-release 1. And let me tell you, there are still some gems we haven't uncovered yet.
We've talked about invisible items, dimension hopping creakings, and the importance of even the smallest bug fixes. But there's one more layer to this pre-release that I find particularly fascinating.
Oh, lay it on me. What is it? Well, there's this addition of a Minecraft.team tint source type for item models. And I think it has the potential to really shake up how we think about team-based gameplay in Minecraft.
Team tint. So does that mean we could see team-colored armor and weapons? That would be awesome for Capture the Flag or other mini games.
Exactly. Imagine your sword glowing red or blue, depending on what team you're on, or your armor subtly shifting hues to match your teammates. It adds a whole new level of visual strategy to the game.
Yeah, I could see that being really useful for quickly identifying friend from foe, especially in the heat of battle. No more accidentally hitting your teammate with a stray arrow.
Right. And it's not just about practicality, it's about building a stronger sense of team identity.
Yeah.
And making those team-based games even more immersive and engaging.
I am all for that. Now, remember that Minecraft.head model we talked about earlier with the new animation float for head movements? Turns out it's even cooler than we thought.
Oh, absolutely.
What is it?
So it seems that animation float can now control the opening and closing of the Ender Dragon's jaw.
Whoa, seriously. So we're talking about a more expressive, more intimidating Ender Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait to see that in action. It's those little details that can really elevate the boss battle experience.
Exactly. It's about taking an already iconic creature and making it even more awe-inspiring, even more formidable.
Okay, last but not least, there's a change to the Minecraft.time numeric property. So they removed the natural only field and added a new source field. I'm guessing this has something to do with how time is handled in the game.
Yeah, you got it. So this change gives creators much more control over time in their custom maps and game modes. They can define custom time sources beyond just the standard day-night cycle, which opens up some really mind-bending possibilities.
So we could see worlds where time flows backward in certain areas, or maybe dungeons where time is frozen until you solve a puzzle.
Exactly. Imagine a world where different biomes have different time flows, or a quest where you have to manipulate time to solve a mystery. The possibilities are pretty much endless.
Wow, that's incredible. I love how even a seemingly minor tweak like this can have such huge implications for the game's creative potential.
This speaks to the beauty of Minecraft, really. It's a game that's constantly evolving, driven by the passion and ingenuity of its developers and the community.
Well said, well said. And I think this deep dive has been a perfect example of that. We've explored bug fixes, technical tweaks, hidden gems, all of which, contribute to making Minecraft the incredible game it is.
It's been a real pleasure exploring these uncharted territories with you.
Likewise. And to all you listeners out there, keep exploring, keep creating, and keep pushing the boundaries. of what's possible in this amazing game. Until next time, happy crafting.